As we all know, media is a pillar of democracy, and especially at the time of election, they play a very important role. And whenever they are not able to measure up to the expectation of people, democracy suffers. And we have to explore why things go wrong, especially when from the standpoint of media. Firstly, you have the problem about media being allowed the freedom to report whatever they want. In certain circumstances, what has really happened that they look up to the government for support, and the government for support doesn't really mean in terms of content, but also in terms of the funding that they can get, the money or the the advertisements they can get from them. And that is what distorts the ability of media to present a objective and clean report on what is happening on the ground. In the last few years, I can say with a great discomfort that the media has suffered quite a bit because they do not recognize the people who matter, that there is a need to have independent media. They think the media has to be, the credibility has to be destroyed. They think that the more credibility is destroyed, they could very well define the way the past can be judged, past can be explained away, and especially the conduct of many people who are in power. And that is the reason why they want to destroy the credibility of the media. But in these circumstances, when the media credibility is in a certain way sullied, then it becomes very difficult for anyone to get a sense of what's happening on the ground. I remember many years ago that I used to go and talk to people and report. Invariably, I would be correct in my assessment of the ground situation. Now things have become very complicated. You go to the field and you talk to people. Most of the time it never gets reflected because either people are afraid to spell out, or there is something else happening in terms of the assessment of what's happening when it comes to the political reality. Why is it all happening? As I stated earlier, media is in a crisis primarily because there is no real funding that is getting into it, because there is no credibility left in the media, so they have to rely a lot on the government for support in terms of advertisement. Secondly, you also have the issue of disinformation. Disinformation is a phenomena which wasn't there before internet became a far greater vehicle for disseminating information. And disinformation is another contributory factor in destroying reputation. So when disinformation is seeping into the media at the moment, why should people even watch? And that is the reason people many companies don't want to advertise it. And the only people who might be interested in spreading out would be either money bags or party in power. And that is another reason why the media requires support from entities who are keen that the reality should be spelled out accurately. I mean, reporting becomes very difficult, especially objective reporting, because of how the government perceives independent journalism. They, in the last many years, in the last 8 or 10 years since they've been in power, there has been a view that the government is most uncomfortable with objective reports, and they don't like media to conduct itself independently. And that hurts the media quite a bit. They may be making short-term gains by getting some government advertisements or people from companies which are close to the government. But in the long run, the reputation of the media hurts, because what is media without its credibility? If you can't really trust what is written or spoken or seen by the media, then why should anybody go and listen to them? So this is a major challenge which media in India has been facing, and in other countries also, because time and again there is a need to refresh the content in a manner where people start visiting your websites, visiting your buying your newspapers, watching your TV. At the moment we have a phenomena where the television channels, especially mainline television, are seeing a fall in viewership. And the people who are prospering at their expense are the YouTube channels, which do not enjoy the kind of depth, editorial depth that is needed to put out a good product. But despite that, they've managed to get footfalls which are the envy of big important channels. So that is a very grim scenario, But it also shows at the same time that there is a hunger amongst people for quality content which suggests objectivity, suggests that they are able to look the government in the eye, and also do things that would suggest that they have an attempt to get what is called truth, or reach the truth, which most of the time is being covered up. There has been a demand for for regulation of the media, primarily because complaints are being lodged time and again for how a report has been presented by the media, how distortions have happened. But invariably, it has either suggested or led to greater involvement of the government or the interference of government. I can give you another example. Supreme Court recently decided to do away with the fact-checking unit that the government of India was putting in place, primarily because the government should not be in the business of telling the media what it should do. And if government starts telling the media what has to be done, so there would not be any suggestion, there will be no oversight of how their conduct is watched, how their conduct is basically checked by the media, which is the responsibility of theirs. So in a certain way, it is required that the media continues to maintain an oversight over government affairs, which can improve the quality of and the reputation of journalism. There is a major challenge of funds for small digital companies, despite the fact that technology provides many solutions, many opportunities for media houses to reach out to a larger audience. But having said that, without money, without resources, you can't do very much. And I think the small media houses suffer in comparison, primarily because there is so much of content, free content, which is going on, which comes free, and bulk of the free content is provided by media houses that can afford it, especially in the digital space. So how does a digital entity really stand up to this kind of competition? So this is a major challenge. I'm sure YouTube affords some kind of visibility, but there is a great amount of investment that has to go into getting eyeballs and footfalls into whatever you're doing. And the more the platforms, harder it becomes, whether it is you are on Instagram or you are on YouTube, whether in Facebook, and even in terms of the popularity of various platforms, that keeps changing. Like earlier, Facebook used to get maximum footfalls, but that has all gone away. It's gone to Instagram, and then you have to change strategies. Then the SEO has to be done. So all that requires substantial amount of money. And when people have little faith in what you write or what you say, then the money is not very easy to get by. So I'm very unsure, how do you surmount the problem? You can go back to the journalistic values, the values of editorial independence, to somehow tell the world that, look here, this is how we conduct our business, this is how we report, and this, you should be respected and funded for what we do. It's a very difficult job for journalists to remain independent, because there is enormous pressure, there is too much of threats which are coming in from everywhere. I mean, if you write a report which does not resonate kindly with the party in power, they could have FIRs filed against you, they could cause deep misery, you could be arrested and put away. And secondly, there is, earlier the government used to be responsible for sustaining independent media, but they now see it in the most hostile and adversarial terms, the media. And that is creating great problems for media and journalists as to how they should report and what they should do.